Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP featured guest is the founder of Team Delegate, a provider of elite virtual executive assistant support to seasoned executives turned small business owners. She has been featured in national media, including Entrepreneur and Black Enterprise. She speaks at women's events as well as is a podcast guest. She might have a podcast and a YouTube channel to check out too. We'll ask her about that. She is a pioneer of the virtual assistant industry. She began as a solo executive virtual assistant, serving high-level clients for 18 years before launching her own firm, and now she has a team of executive virtual assistants. She resides in the Dallas, Texas area with her husband and two sons. Silhouettes. Let's welcome Tonya Thomas to the show. Hello, Tonya. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us because I have a feeling we all need you. We need you, and but this is a little bit more in depth about you and your story and best practices and all those great things. But I want to, take fun advantage and just have you share more about why, of course, we know we need you and your service. So, again, it's so thrilling to have you here, but let's just kick it off by having you share a little bit more about the early shaping of your Silhouette of Success story and tell the audience about your background.
Sure. I started, well, actually, when I was in school, I wanted to be a physical therapist. I don't know what compelled me, maybe because I have an athletic background, but I wanted to be a physical therapist. And so when I graduated high school, I went to college and was taking a lot of courses towards doing that. However, along the way, I met and fell in love with my current husband, who at the time worked for a construction company. So that meant he traveled a lot. We got married. So that kind of tabled my physical therapy aspirations. And I just traveled with him and did a lot of clerical work. Hated it because it's like, I've gone to school to try to become a physical therapist. I have a degree. Why am I temping and doing clerical work? But I just really didn't know what lied ahead for me, what God had planned for me. And so fast forward to my 20s, and when we were first married, I wanted to have a business. I just didn't know what that looked like. And then we were moving a lot. So what could I do and move? Well, when I had my first son, I happened to be home on maternity leave and perusing the internet with a little bit of time that I had while he was sleeping. And I came across a training program to be a virtual assistant, had never heard of it. But at that time, okay, it fit my background. So then the clerical and admin work that I had been doing fitted. So I thought, hey, I'll just take this training program and then go from there. And that's what I did and started doing my business as a solo virtual assistant.
So you were mobile before mobile was cool.
Correct. That
Right?
was the year 2000. So yes.
Yeah. Truly a pioneer, milady, truly.
Mhm.
Wow. So, with that, let's dive into fast forward a little bit here. The alarm clock goes off and your work or business day begins. What might a day in the life look like for you now that you are, of course, and we're going to dive into your company and the launch of that and all those things in a minute, but what does a day in the life look like? Because you helping others stay focused and on track, are you structured with routine? Do you have a spontaneous streak in you? Talk to us about that.
Sure. It typically starts with me first managing family. I still have my younger son here who's still in school. And so getting him out the door and off to school, taking him to school, and then coming back and switching to work mode and getting my day going that way. And then typically after that, I kind of switch back to home life mode as opposed to, I know a lot of people looks that way. But, during the day, it is just trying to stay organized and sometimes in true fashion and true full transparency. I feel like, I'm thinking to myself, sometimes I feel like a fraud because I'm thinking people may think that I'm just this totally organized person, but I still struggle too to maintain organization in both home life and work life, but just do the best that I can to be able to manage both of them. I know people talk a lot about home life work balance, that type of thing, but it's just, I think, truly what each of us makes of it, and it's different for each one of us as to what that looks like and what works for us.
I think that's just a big myth that yeah,
Hmm.
that yeah, you're right, they do. They talk about home life balance, but to me it's almost like it's a seesaw. There is no balance in that. Right? And I love how you said full transparency. I mean, that's just the way we roll here because we know what it's really like. Even if you have all the systems in place, something can just kind of throw that off center from time to time. So we get that. That is so cool. Um, who do you think most influenced you as you embarked on the path or your career path towards creating this amazing firm that you are, in the midst of right now?
That's a good question. Early on, I didn't really have, I would say, anyone in particular who influenced me, but along the way, that has changed. Now I have a few what I call virtual mentors, people who are my mentors, but they don't know it. And they really
Love that.
inspire me and keep me going. I listen to, their podcast, anything that they do on social media, and it does. They offer encouraging messages that just help me keep going because, as you know, on this entrepreneurial journey, it's up and down. I mean, you have good days, bad days, all of that, and it's easy to get discouraged. And so having the ability now with the media that we have, like a social media podcast, stuff like that, it's easy to be able to have people like that you can follow and help you along the way.
Isn't that the truth?
Mhm.
Where would we be without some of them sometimes? Oh, those encouraging words or, sometimes a swift kick or, any of
Mhm.
those things, a nice little scripture or quote or something.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a picture, you know,
Mhm.
just something to oh, goodness, I hear you. So tell us, I want to hear and have you share all about your company, Team Delegate. Talk to us about the inspiration that really led you to go from you running your business into creating your firm. Talk to us about that inspiration.
Yes. I have always, even early in my business, always felt that it was good to have a coach. And my coach at the time, this was probably, I would say, because we had just moved here to the Dallas area, so we moved here in 2009. So it was probably somewhere around that time, 2009, 2010. And she and I were having a session, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but how we got on the subject. But she says, you don't have a business, you just have a job that you've created for yourself. And at that time, I'm thinking, why is she saying this? I do have a business. I have a website. I have clients. I have business cards. I have a business. And after that, fast forward to probably 2012, I began to feel a different way about what I was doing in my business. I dreaded coming into the office. I didn't look forward to it. I just didn't feel the same about and jazzed about what I was doing. And her words then came back to me and they resonated. I knew exactly what she meant. I'm like, this is a job. I mean, it's just me doing this and I can never step away. And so I just kind of contemplated, what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I kind of stayed in this space for a couple of years, trying to decide whether or not do I want to give this up and do something different. But then I finally came to the conclusion that I liked being able to help people. I just didn't want to be the person doing it. So that was when I decided to go from being a solo entrepreneur to scaling. And so I rebranded the business. The original name was the Small Office Assistant. So that's when I rebranded the name to Team Delegate and began making the shift from solo to scaling. And it took a while. It probably took me 2 to 3 years to be able to make that change.
Well, even so, there was a whole lot in that. I'm writing as fast as I can. You have some just greatness in there on that journey. But I guess I would go back to it sounds like when we're ready to hear it, we're ready to hear it, whether it's our
Mhm.
head or our heart or, God's timing or showing us. Or so, how cool is that, that you actually pulled back her words, a couple years later when you were ready to hear them?
Exactly. And I think, you're right. It was God's timing. I think I wasn't ready for it then, but he brought that back to me at the time when I was ready for them.
That's great. And I picked up on when you changed your name from your prior business or the job you created for yourself,
Hmm.
your business, but you completely rebranded it and you did scale even in the company name. Small office assistant, you were you, but then you went big. Team Delegate. I mean, that just what an impressive branding scale just in that right there.
Right, and I remember when I came up with the name the small office assistant, my husband said then, you're limiting yourself. Why are you calling it that? Because there's just and at the time, it was, that was what I wanted. It's like,
Uh-huh.
no, you're wrong. This is perfect because it's just me. This is the way I want it. But yeah, so he had a little, I guess, foretelling in it too. I just didn't realize it.
Yes. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? They tell us
Hmm.
oh, wow. Okay. More goosebumps. I always get goosebumps when I hear these great things.
Hmm.
So excited. All right. Let's talk some best practices because we all crave and learn from each other. Do you ever get stuck? And if you do, what works for you as a best practice if you're seeking some extra motivation to maybe break down a seeming barrier between you and a goal or dream? Do you have something that works for you?
I do. Typically for me, that is speaking to what I call my board of directors, which consists of my husband and my mother. They have been very inspirational for me. So if I have a challenge or something that I'm dealing with that I'm having a hard time getting past, they always listen and give me excellent advice and unbiased advice. I guess because they know me the best, so they know what they can, say, and that's going to be impactful and helpful for me, and they tell the truth. And so that is where I always turn to when I'm struggling with something. That's always helpful for me.
Tell the truth. Hmm.
Mhm.
We need that. We need that. Someone that's going to tell you the truth when you're going through, yeah, struggles. Yes. Oh, as an independent business owner, you've talked about your virtual mentors, and then now
Mhm.
you've got your board of directors. Where do you turn to for support? As far as are you a part of any groups, or is there anything that you do on the external?
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a true believer in coaching. So I'm always now it's more. Back then people did more one-on-one, like me working but now it is more, as you know, group coaching. And so that's typically when you seek any type of coaching, that's what you're going to get. And so I am a part of a few different coaching groups. That's helpful for sure, because as I'm thinking of one that I'm in, it's a very transparent group. I mean, we like have to share details about our businesses that I really wasn't comfortable sharing, but it helps push and motivate, uh, and so it's things like that help me. And then you have, other people in the group that you can share experiences with. We have what we call experience share, so they're able to, they can't really just give advice, but it has to be an experience share, so that that they're coming from a place of somewhere that they've dealt with the same thing. And so then that's helpful. So I am a part of, things like that are helping me too, in terms of, you also have the networking in there as well, but those types of groups that help as well when it comes to being able to be, because like I mentioned, my mom and my husband, of course, they don't run businesses. And so being a part of these groups with other business owners helps in that aspect of when it truly comes down to the logistics and stuff like that someone else that's in the same, you know, arena in terms of being an entrepreneur is helpful and impactful as well.
So rewarding, but as you mentioned, maybe very difficult. Some of us have to work at that, being vulnerable, or letting go a little bit
Right.
to release it, to get. So on that, maybe that same discussion thread. Speaking of letting go, and your company name and what you do, delegate. How do I don't think it's natural to release, right? Is
Mhm.
what do you do to help get your ideal client? And how do we release, to let go and delegate, or allow you all to take over? Asking for a friend.
Sure, because I know that is one of the biggest things. It's rare that we have clients that come to us and they know what they want to delegate. They know how to do it. Um, they're the minority. So most people, they know that they may need help, but they don't know, with what, and they don't know how to get the help. So, what I always share in terms of that piece is, you know, taking the time to think about what it is that you do on a daily basis. You could actually, keep a notebook handy for a week and, track what you're doing and then go back through that and circle the things that you don't have to, personally do, which for most people, like if it's a service based business, I mean, whatever it is, the client delivery is the thing that you're going to have to do. But then those other things on the list, you can circle that you don't have to do. And so, but then there's also that factor of being afraid to release things. Because I mean, it's your business. You've been doing the things even though it's the administrative things, you've been doing them. So you're comfortable doing them, even though it's killing you because it's taking away, your time and you're becoming overwhelmed. So in that aspect, I always share with people to, start with what you're most comfortable with releasing. And then always, make sure that you're communicating with the person that you're releasing it to. I think communication is key, being available to them for questions or anything like that. But during that time when you're doing that, you're building rapport, you're getting comfortable with them. So unpacking it that way, just trying to decide, what it is that you're wanting to give and then how you're going to give it and then just being comfortable with releasing it.
You have such a demeanor to where it's already comfortable.
Mhm.
I can just I can visualize being in a conversation with you, a business conversation, and thinking, okay, yeah, all right, all right, release. Oh, that's amazing. Where I'm hearing a lot of, and then going back to some of the things you shared when we first started talking. Where do you've got a very service based um, desire and heart. Where do you think being of service comes from? Can you tie it back to something?
That is a great question, Amber. And I was just thinking about this the other day. I think, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the conversation, how I didn't like, doing what I was doing. But like I said, now that I look back on it, I think that's where, God was leading me, and that's what He's placed upon my heart to be able to help people in this arena because I do have a passion for it. And that's the only reason why I know I would have that passion to be able to help people. And that was the reason why I came to the conclusion, I think, when I said I didn't want to shift and go to a completely different business because I still like being of service to people and being able to help them because I think that, you know, we all need help, and that's whether if not everybody wants to scale, but still, even if you're a solo person and you're working in your business, you can still get burnt out. You can still get overwhelmed, and the only way to not go down that path is to get help. And getting help for most people is in the form of an assistant. And so, for me, I think that's my calling is to be able to help people get that help through an assistant, know how to do it effectively and efficiently. Because, like I said, a lot of people talk about, just, delegate to a virtual assistant, but there's more to it than that. There's more that goes into it to be able to do it successfully. And so that's my passion to be able to help people know how to work with someone in a manner that's going to help them reach their goals.
So I would say you're still, even after all these years, a therapist of some of some nature. You're still in it. It
Right.
just took a different form. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. Tanya, we're going to take a quick break to hear from this episode's sponsor. We'll be right back. I personally have been investing with Ashcroft Capital for about 5 years. I know the co founder, Joe Fairless, pretty darn well. He's my brother, so I can personally vouch for him and how he approaches things. I like investing with Ashcroft because of the monthly cash flow. They buy apartment buildings, improve them, and then sell them. It's a good business to be in, and I'm glad to passively invest with them. You can learn more at ashcroftcapital.com. That's ASHCROFT capital.com. All right, my lady, we are back. My cheeks are hurting from from smiling and listening, and this is kind of a little bit deeper of a question. It's more of a two part. Thinking through your silhouette of success journey, could you pinpoint maybe a specific point in time, event, or key situation in your professional life that really forced you to make a monumental shift within your business or career? And going through that, positive or painful, how did going through that help you grow?
in this line of work, we deal with people. And I remember my husband too saying when I wanted to make the shift to scale and do what I'm doing, he's like, "Well, then you're gonna have to deal with people." And he was telling me that because he's in a managerial role in the company that he works for, and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm ready for that." Well, he was kind of right in what he said because I think I've had to, when you are scaling a business, he's right. You're dealing with people, more people in terms of internally on your team. And I've had things happen that really hit home for me and caused me to look differently at how, um, I guess, you deal and relate with people. And I hope I'm making sense because it's kind of difficult to explain, but I think that's the shift that I've had to make, that, we can treat people, the way that I feel like they want to be treated, but people have their own mindset and the way that they look at things and what they do and their outlook on what they think is, the right way and the wrong way. And I had to learn that. Learning that everyone is different, but what other people do can't affect me and stop me from moving forward on the path that I feel like I'm called and led to do. So, in other words, I guess, long story short, not letting, barriers or things that happen to you stop your journey. So, hopefully, what I said makes sense, but
I
that's
would
what I.
say we're all nodding because you said it, the way that yes, very plainly, by not getting too detailed. But yes, I think we're all nodding. When you deal with the public and you go outside of yourself or your, business, you are going to run into all those different personalities and styles, and
Exactly.
they roll differently than you do, and and it's interesting, it's a whole new skill set that he was giving you foreshadow about that you'd be developing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ooh,
And it was that
yes,
leadership part.
yes.
And I had to learn too that there's a difference between leadership and management. And so, yeah,
Mm,
he
wow.
did give me a foreshadowing on that one, but it's all encompassed and all a part of, growing and scaling a business.
Tanya, when do you feel your greatest sense of satisfaction?
When I have a small win, I try to have small wins within the business and what I'm doing to help me reach my larger goals. And then it's also rewarding when we get positive feedback from clients. When I hear them say, that we have helped them. For example, I had a client, she's no longer a client. She had moved on, but she commented on a social media post that I did, and she was like, I don't think my business would have made it had it not been, had you and your team not helped me develop the processes and the infrastructure that I was able to build when working with you. So it's stuff like that, when you go through the hard stuff and then you get positive feedback like that, knowing that you are making a difference for people, that's rewarding.
I had this, I always have these extra, questions over here to the side and just kind of mix them in sometimes. And sometimes there's some standard, but that's going to have me pull one of those mixture questions in.
Mhm.
So on that, and I'm watching the time, respecting your day here. But talking through that, because that's important, those the positive feedback. And do you have a favorite, maybe a milestone or achievement that you're most proud of? We shared quickly in the bio that you've been featured in some amazing media magazines and things like that, but do you have
Mhm.
something you'd want to share with the audience that you're most proud of?
Yes. I guess for me is having the ability to be able to employ people, help other people who are wanting to, get into the industry and have that flexibility to be able to, you know, be at home with their kids and stuff like that. And so that's rewarding also, and I think a milestone of being able to do that and help people work for the company that's impactful for them and helpful for them to be able to have that flexibility.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And we are grateful that you have done what you're doing and what you are doing, because it's a chain of events, and it's a domino. You're helping us, you're helping your employees or your team, and and that trend just keeps building. You are seriously passing the light. So, we thank you for what you've done and taken those steps to do it. um all right, milady, we all crave great resources that might either inspire, uplift, expand our minds and ITs, but sometimes just get us through the day.
Mhm.
You mentioned earlier there might be some mentors or coaching programs. Do you have a favorite book or resource or anything that you'd want to share with us?
Yes, and this is a hard one to narrow down because I'm an avid reader and I've read
Yeah.
tons of books. So it's challenging trying to narrow it down. But I would say Profit First is a book by Mike Michalowicz. As finances is not usually something that most business owners pay attention to, but it can kill your business if you don't. So that is one resource that I would share, that I think would be helpful. It's a really good read.
Fabulous. Thank you. And we'll be sure and include that link in the show notes so folks can find that. Tonya, it has been amazing visiting with you today. I don't want to wrap up, but I'd keep you here longer, but I know you have people to help. As we begin to wrap up and keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration, do you have a piece of Kigo to advice that resonates with you that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes, simple. Don't give up. It can be challenging. Like I said, this entrepreneur journey can be rough and have its ups and downs, but don't throw in the towel. Keep going. I think sometimes I've heard people say that people give up too soon, and I think I'd have to agree with that, but that would be my advice. Just continue to work towards your goal and focus on, the positive, and don't let anything fall by the wayside, but continue to go on your journey of reaching your goals.
Awesome. And so, with that said, that's a great segue because now you're going to share so they cannot give up and call you for help to take some of that overwhelm off. So, this is all about you. The stage is completely yours. Where can our audience go to find and connect with you and support you in your continued success? Do you want to share your website, your socials? Share whatever you want. Go for it.
Sure. Our website is teamdelegate.com. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there, Tonya Thomas. And then I also have a podcast, Unbottleneck Your Business. And you can find that on Apple or any other, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts.
Okay, yes, I wanted to plug that because I perused that and you've got some amazing episodes and topics that you cover.
Yes, yes. I enjoy being able to share information, and knowledge is going to be helpful. So hopefully it is, for the listeners.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we'll be sure and include all of those links in the show notes as well. Tonya, it has been an honor and a pleasure connecting with you, and I am excited to share your Silhouette of Success story. You are a genuine light and inspiration to us all. Thank you, milady, for taking time and visiting with us today.
You're welcome, Amber, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer Podcast, Silhouettes of Success.